Bro, if you struggle to approach women, if you feel like you have anxiety, right, you are helpless, you are weak-minded, this video is for you because you need to become somebody who is mentally tough, right? And let me start with a saying that the men in this generation are traumatized because they face less trauma. Hear me, let me say it again. The men in this generation are traumatized because they face less trauma. So think about it. Now, I'll first of all start with my life, right? I've noticed that while I'm boxing, right, if I jam my wrist with the wrong angle on the bag, right, and I stop boxing, that hand hurts me for like a day or two. But if I keep on boxing, right, I just observe the pain, I keep boxing like 10 seconds after, all of a sudden, the pain just will find a way of leaving the hand completely. So that made me realize, bro, that statement is as true as fuck, right? So let's start with why the fuck are men these days mentally weak? You see, it's the way we live our life these days as men. And by the way, men becoming mentally weak is intentional, right? There are people who are actively out there to get you as a man where they'll do everything to make you weak. And the harsh truth is that if you, a man, don't realize that you are mentally weak, right, you keep lying to yourself. So why do they want you weak? When they know that when you become weak, you become easy to control. So how do they make you weak? Or what habits are you doing that keeps you weak? One, the first thing is chasing comfort. For the kind of person who is always trying to be comfortable, my brother, trust me, you're in for a very long one, right? Because that comfort you seek makes you mentally weak. You see this way, right? The weaker you get mentally, the more hopeless you become for life. Let me say that again. The weaker you get mentally, the more hopeless you become in life. Because you feel like you can't do jack shit, right? You see, the more comfort you chase, you see, mental toughness is not built in comfort. It's built with grit. It's built with facing mental challenges. The same way you build your physical muscles by challenging your muscles in the gym. The exact same way you challenge your mental strength by doing things that are mentally tough, right? So what that means is, one, you fucking have to leave your comfort zone. There's nothing happens there in your growth, right? Nothing happens there when you're very comfortable. The other thing that's stopping you from being mentally tough is you make excuses. See, one thing you should realize is it's either you make it happen or you make excuses. You cannot have both. Excuses are just pleasant lies that you tell yourself because you want to feel good about not achieving that thing you want. But bro, let me tell you, there are guys who are achieving what you want to achieve. But guess what? They are not making excuses. Right? Again, the third thing here is complaining. Complaining. And these three things, comfort, complaining, making excuses, these things will have been weaponized against you while you're a small boy. While you're a small boy, they allowed you to complain, right? They allowed you to be soft. In short, they even rewarded you to complain. They rewarded you to feel soft. But let me tell you something. That softness, that complaining you're complaining was damaging your self-image. Because, bro, as a man, when you grow up, you get to realize nobody really cares. While you were a small boy, they may have cared, they may have showed you affection. But the older you grow, you get to realize that as a man, nobody really cares. As a man, nobody can really solve your problem. That's why you have to become mentally tough, right? And if you have friends too, that probably think and help you solve your problem, those guys too need to become mentally tough. Right? So, after this, that there are a couple of habits, right, that make you mentally tough. Hold on, before I even go into those habits, I just remembered a story, right? Because before I turned on this camera, a story came to my head. The story goes like this: of the first time I realized what mental toughness was. So, in school, in my first high school, we used to have this bucket, right? It's called Sacklocks. It's the heaviest bucket to fetch water in. So every time they see you catch a Sacklock, it's mostly a punishment, right, from a senior. And I was in high school then. So my godfather, who was protecting me, was also in school. So he was sick one particular day, a Saturday, and then he needed water. Now he told me to go and get somebody else randomly who will fetch the water. But I felt like, well, he's my godfather. He always protects me, right, from anything. So I go ahead, I fetch the water. No, I go ahead. So he has two buckets, right? His plan was I should fetch one after the other. I was like, no, let me carry the two. But the worst case is, I might see a friend there at the tap who help me watch over the buckets. For now, there was nobody at the tap. I could not leave those two buckets. I cannot leave any of the buckets there. So I carried this water with me, the two Sacklocks. And mind you, if the people see you with one, they laugh at you because they assume it's a punishment. I was with two. So in people's minds, it was definitely a punishment. So I kept on telling myself that, okay, keep carrying these buckets until you get to this place. I'll get there. I will not drop the bucket. I'll keep moving. I'll say, okay, you know what? Let's get there. And we'll get there. Okay, next stop. And that's how I took that bucket, the two Sacklocks bucket, to his room. Now, he was surprised that I brought the two at the same time, right? Now, when I was about to leave his room, somebody else told me to fetch Sacklocks. Now, I could have easily told him, no, I don't want to because I'm with my godfather. I was like, you know what? That felt very right. It felt very good because, bro, I was like, my mates don't even believe it, right? And bro, for my stature then, I was pretty small. Forget how big I am right now. I was pretty small in like high school. I was the most bullied, yes, in my class, right? So when I did that thing, there's a way it leads. That's why I said the more mentally tough you are, the better you see yourself, the more confident you are. You see, there's a mindset I want you to adopt as a man, right? It is, I can do it. I can get it done. You see that mindset of I can do it. Even though you're new to it, it's a complete game changer. And people never talk about this, but becoming mentally tough is fucking attractive. Attractive to anybody. Men respect you. Women crave to be in your presence, right? There's a couple of habits that I have seen in my modern day life, right? That would increase your mental toughness is, one, fucking working out, right? See, the more you go to the gym, the more you reinforce that you are a disciplined person, the more you realize that, oh, I get things done. The more you realize you make less excuses, you become more resilient, right? And that process, the more weight, the more you push yourself with the weight, the more mentally tough you become. Now, the gym culture has kind of gone out of hand, and one thing you realize is mental toughness cannot end. You see, there's a limit to how much push-ups you can do. There's a limit to how much weight you can lift, right? That your body seems necessary. But there's no limit to mental toughness. Absolutely no limit. Prof, nobody has ever reached the limit of mental toughness. So guess what? It's an ongoing journey. So one thing you will realize is there's only so much, right, that the gym can do for you when it comes to being mentally tough. The next habit is, I'm going to another habit. The next habit is meditation, right? There's a limit. Meditation is you just observing your thoughts, right, while you are awake. Not accepting any sensory input and not engaging your thought process. Bro, when you start meditation, what happens is your brain will run wild. It will be like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't keep me here for 5 minutes thinking of nothing. So your mind will keep distracting you. But over time, you get to realize that, meditating is actually easy. At some point, you get to realize that you can even meditate without closing your eyes. You can be on a queue and you start meditating when you're waiting for something to happen. But bottom line is that your addicted brain wants to stream particular apps. Your brain wants to watch certain videos. But guess what? You becoming mentally tough by meditating will stop you from doing all that. Right? Again, and that's where mental toughness comes in, where you're challenging yourself mentally. So now, one other habit I've seen is if you start working out without earphones, bro, that shit is a game changer, man. Because it will boost your mental toughness. You see, when you're working out with your phones, with your music, you are distracting yourself. But when you tell yourself that, me and this workout, we are going to be here today. If you work out without earphones, there's a way you move that is different, right? Again, I've also noticed that in my fight camp, right, or different fight camps I've gone to, the guys who fight without music, don't worry, they move different, right? Those guys are the guys that mostly block out the noise in the fight. Because when it's time to fight, it is full-on distraction, right? Apart from those guys who, they are calm when it comes to fighting, right? They observe themselves very, very well when it comes to fighting, right? That is why I said that, bro, if you learn how to fight, there is absolutely no way it will not boost your mental strength. Because, take it or leave it, when you're lifting weight, there's a limit to how much mental challenge you can get from the gym. But learning how to fight will 10x your mental challenge, right? Working out without music will 10x your mental challenge. So a couple of things that you should note when it comes to like being mentally tough is this idea of discipline versus motivation, right? To be very frank, people make it sound like they are opposites from each other. Bro, you need the two of them, because without a strong motivation, you will not get discipline at anything. So motivation, I would say, in my opinion, gets you to start. If you have the right motivation, it gets you to start. Discipline gets you to continue, because you cannot rely on motivation all the time, because it comes today, it goes tomorrow. But discipline makes you show up every single day. That's why I told you that going to the gym consistently will boost your mental toughness, right? And one thing you say about mental toughness is, what I'll say is how you see failure, right? Because how you see failure is very important. You see, like I said, mental strength is built by having challenges, right? A typical example is you want to overcome the fear of talking to women. I'll tell you for a fact is you will do a better job at talking to 100 women than watching 100 videos on how to talk to women. So when you go and meet a woman the first time, right, you're jittering, you're afraid, but you're doing it regardless. That itself is building mental strength, even though you're getting it done. Because that is supposed to be the point, right? You're getting it done, right? So you're talking to a woman. The first time she ignores you, second time, or the second woman ignores you because they feel that jittiness, that eagerness, or something, right? But at some point, you get to realize that you are not good at it. That is where the mentality begins to evolve. The mentality begins to shake. So, brother, if you see anything as failure, instead of failure, I call it attempt. That's why I say, you know what? Talk to 100 girls. Aim for 100 girls. Now, I don't know how you can get 100 girls. If you walk on the road, you see 100 girls. But it's more about the attempts where at some point you build that mental strength. So say it's more like if you want to start a business, right? Why don't you aim to sell 100 items for that business, right? Same thing with women. You want to get comfortable with women, talk to 100 women, right? Until the point where you feel like, okay, interesting. I'll tell you for a fact, your greatest fear is rejection, right? I'll tell you for a fact, which will help you shortcut the process. Enjoy the rejection. Enjoy it. Because when you're rejected, this is how your brain will work. When you're rejected, you begin to blame yourself for a lot of things. But observing women, one thing I've come to realize is there are a lot of reasons women can reject you. And it doesn't even have to be your looks, right? There are a lot of reasons a woman can reject you, so don't be offended. Instead, if she rejected you, think about it very well. Think about things that are within your control, because that is mental toughness. Focusing on things that are within your control, right? And then, you know what? Okay, this is how I appeared. Oh, I was good in my dressing. I was good in my speech. Well, if you're good at your side and you check yourself, you've checked yourself without BS. Guess what? You can then come to the conclusion that probably she has some problems that she's dealing with. Because sometimes I've seen girls who just lost her dad on the road at the gym. I've seen somebody who has lost her uncle. She's at the gym. So people are going through a lot, right? And one thing I've come to also realize, as you become mentally tough, right, you begin to control more of your emotions. And can we say it's almost like everything you want in this life is at the other side of becoming mentally tough. That is confidence itself, right? Where your emotions are in control. And this is something that feminists don't want you to ever achieve, emotional control. Because you're focused on things you can control, right? You're stoic. You basically control yourself. You see, when you get a level of emotional control, when it comes to responding to people, you have two options. When it comes to like giving back, you have two options, right? Either you react or you respond. Small children react. Serious men, masculine men, they respond. If you look at small kids, right, while they're out there throwing tantrums, a small boy, see how he's throwing things up and down because he's reacting. He doesn't know how to process the emotion. And that is how most men grow up, right? They start reacting to things. But when you control your emotions, what happens is you respond. Something happens to you. It's not about, oh, see what happened to me, but it's, what can I do about it? And I'm grateful for one thing my father used to tell me. What he used to tell me was, guy, not guy, but get the point. Don't tell me what he did, right? Tell me what you did, right? It's that simple, because if you're telling him, oh, I did this because of him, what you'll end up saying is he controls you. Now, he never said that thing, but growing up, because it's late now, growing up, I've come to realize that, bro, she's deep. That whenever you say, oh, he made me do this, what that means is he controls you. And that is where you begin to realize that, bro, becoming mentally tough involves you controlling your emotions. Now, I'd like to end this video when it comes to mental strength versus physical strength. Which is more important? Bro, it's a very stupid question, because it makes you feel like you want to pick one. Bro, you need both of them. Like, no jokes, like no cap. You need to have mental toughness, mental strength. At the same time, you need physical strength. You don't want to be that dude, right, who has muscles built like a fucking wrestler. But any little thing, he begins to cry. You don't want to be that guy who is super jacked, mentally jacked, mentally tough, but looks very lanky and looks like what, yeah, it's nature can defeat. So, bro, you need the two of them, right? Oh, there's one more thing that I think I forgot to mention is that one other habit that will help you build your mental strength is reading books that are very tough. What that means is when you begin to read books that are very tough, that challenge your thinking, trust me, it's a complete game changer on that. I know that for a fact, because, bro, even till this day, the harder the book I read, like some books that I read, I can spend like a week on one page, because, bro, that book is tough as fuck. And I know it's boosting. It's basically what mental toughness. So a couple of things just to recap that you should stop doing. Stop making excuses. Stop complaining. Right? Stop hanging around losers. Yeah, very important. And stop chasing comfort because nothing fucking happens there. Right? It keeps you stuck in life. Start doing habits that make you mentally tough, like cold showers. If you're somebody who's not already used, but the bottom line is, the more you challenge yourself physically, mentally, for things that you don't want to do, that is very important because I don't think I mentioned that. Even though if by the time by the time you're used to going to the gym, at some point you will not build mental toughness by going to the gym the 111th time. You will build mental toughness by going to the gym, working on your legs when you barely work on your legs. You will build mental toughness when you say, right, work on your calves, even though you have almost never worked on your calves. That will build mental toughness. So the more you do things that you don't like to do, knowing you fully have to do it, the more mentally tough you become. By the way, in my vlog, when it comes to fighting, right, I now train with professional fighters. Bro, it's a complete game changer. These guys are jogging 10K, no earphones, random Monday. Bro, that shit is crazy, but I think I'm grateful for it, right? Because I can see how much changes it's doing in my life. My name is Ton Oroye. By the way, the reason I actually chose to make this video is this. I'm just recovering from like malaria. That's why I'm wearing like this sweater and all that, this little fever. And they made me drink this concussion called Agbo. In this concussion, one thing happened is they were like, oh, it's very bitter and I can't take anything sweet before or after. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Let me see how bad it's going to be. They bring this thing and I just drink it like it's nothing. And they were like, bro, how do you do that? I was like, this is not as bitter as what my mom used to give to me when I was much younger. You don't know me that. Most people are too afraid to drink things that are bitter. But if you can reframe your mind, right, you get to realize that bitter is not exactly bad. And one other thing that I think that stops people from anything, in any activity, is the start. Right? Because there's a mental barrier we always have in our head when it comes to starting something. The more you start things, that is why I tell you, have that beginner mindset. The more you start things, right, the more mentally tough you become. So brother, my name is Ton Oroye. If you leave me on this topic, I can keep going for time and time, but I think you probably enjoyed this. My name is Ton Oroye. If you like the idea you hear in this video, I'd like you to please share with a fellow brother. Let's make men mentally tough again, because bro, we cannot leave our hands in the hands of feminists. We cannot leave our hands in the hands of people who have spent decades and billions of dollars trying to make us weak, comfortable, addicted, depressed, anxious. No, we need to start taking our lives into our own hands. Talk to you soon. Share this video and bye for now, brother.